will state his inquiry.
Thank you, sir. It appears that counsel for the witness this morning has paper copies of the slides that were used during the questioning. If that's true, does that mean that you and or your team has been in coordination with him and or her with respect to her testimony this morning? And if that's true, how does that comport with HRS 660 and the fairness that is purportedly associated with that resolution?
The gentleman, the TV for the witnesses wasn't working, so they were given copies this morning. It is now 45 minutes to Ranking Member Nunes.
You said that the screen in front of them was not working?
My understanding is the screen was not working in front of them, so they were given copies so they could read along since they can't see the screens that we can. Mr. Nunes, you're recognized for 45 minutes along with Minority Counsel.
First, Mr. Chair, I want to submit for the record Senator Grassley's letter to the Department of Justice dated July 20th, 2017. I read a portion of that into the record during my opening statement.
Without objection.
Ambassador, congratulate you. You've been down in the secret deposition meeting rooms. You've graduated for your performance today. Later this afternoon, I should note that to the public that we will be back down in the basement of the Capitol doing more of these secret depositions. Ambassador, I don't really have very many questions for you. You admitted in your opening statement that you don't have any firsthand knowledge of the issues that we're looking into. But I do want to talk a little bit about Senator Grassley very briefly. I assume that you know who Senator Grassley is.
Yes, sir, I do.
Do you believe that Senator Grassley is a serious and credible elected official?
I have no reason to think otherwise.
Were you involved in the July 25th Trump-Zelensky phone call or preparations for the call?
No, I was not.
Were you involved in the deliberations about the pause in military sales to Ukraine as the Trump administration reviewed newly elected President Zelensky's commitment to corruption reforms?
For the delay in
For the pause.
pause? No, I was not.
Were you involved in the proposed Trump-Zelensky, later Pence-Zelensky meetings in Warsaw, Poland on September 1st?
No, I was not.
Did you ever talk to President Trump in 2019?
No, I have not.
Mick Mulvaney?
No, I have not.
Thank you, Ambassador. I'm not exactly sure what the ambassador is doing here today. This is the House Intelligence Committee that's now turned into the House Impeachment Committee. This seems more appropriate for the Subcommittee on Human Resources at the Foreign Affairs Committee. If there's issues with employment, disagreements with the administration, it would seem like this would be a more appropriate setting instead of an impeachment hearing where the ambassador is not a material fact witness to any of the accusations that are being hurled at the president for this impeachment inquiry. I have several questions I think Mr. Castor wants to get to. I know Ms. Stefanik, you had a few quick questions for the ambassador. Yield to you, Ms. Stefanik.
Thank you, Mr. Nunes. Ambassador Yovanovitch, thank you for being here today.
The gentlewoman was suspended.
What is the interruption for this time? It is our time.
The gentlewoman was suspended. You're not recognized. Mr. Nunes, you were Minority Counsel.
I just recognized.
Under the House Resolution 660, you're not allowed to yield time except to Minority
The
Counsel.
ranking member yielded time to another member of Congress.
No, that is not accurate.
You're gagging the...
That is accurate. Ambassador Yovanovitch, I want to thank you for being
Gentlewoman
here
was
today.
suspended. You're not recognized.
Yeah.
The fifth time you have interrupted members of Congress, newly elected members of Congress.
He told you to shut up. Yeah. Shake your head.
We control the time.
Stop protecting a tyrant.
And customary to this committee that whoever controls the time can yield to whoever they wish. If we have members of Congress that have a few questions, it seems appropriate that we be able to let Ms. Stefanik ask her question.
Mr. Nunes, you or Minority Counsel recognized.
All right. Mr. Castor, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Nunes. Ambassador, welcome. Thank you for your service. 33 years, an extraordinary career. It really has been a remarkable tenure for you at the State Department. I also like to thank you for participating here today. This is a crazy environment. This hearing room is turned into a television studio. Before today, you spent...
That should make Trump happy.
Friday the 11th, you were with us for
He
early
loves
in the morning
television.
until, I believe it was 8 o'clock at night. People missed trains back to New York, and it was a complete, a very complete day, so thank you. You were serving a 3-year assignment in the Ukraine, is that correct?
Yes,
And it began in 2016 and was scheduled to end in 2019?
yes, that's correct.
And nobody disputes that it's up to the president to decide who his envoys are to posts around the world, correct?
I stated that clearly in my statement.
And you returned from Ukraine on May 20th, 2019?
That's correct.
And your return coincided with the inauguration of President Zelensky?
Yes,
And you remain employed by the State Department?
I do.
And after you returned to Washington, the Deputy Secretary, John Sullivan, asked you what you wanted to do next. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then you met with the Director General, Ambassador Perez,
Yes, that's correct.
to identify a meaningful new assignment.
Yes,
And you now serve at Georgetown University as a fellow.
that's true.
This is a rewarding position for you.
I'm very grateful to be in that position after what happened.
Today is the second big hearing for the Democrats' impeachment initiative. But we don't understand, or we do understand that you don't have a lot of facts and information relating to the part of this that we're investigating. And those are the events from May 20th up until September 11th, the release of the security assistance funds. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
So you were not part of the delegation to the inauguration. That was the day you returned. You were not part of the Oval Office meeting May 23rd, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you were not part of the decision-making relating to whether there would be a White House meeting with President Zelensky?
That's correct.
And you were not a part of any decision-making in the lead-up to the July 25th call?
That's correct.
And you first learned about the call on September 25th, is that correct?
Well, I heard about the call, as I indicated in the first deposition, from Deputy Assistant Secretary George Kent.
And what did he tell you about the call?
Well, as it turns out, it wasn't correct, but what I recall is that he said that President Trump had asked President Zelensky whether he could, help him out, and which I understood to be these investigations, and that President Zelensky had said that he is putting in a new prosecutor general, and that he doesn't control. But I mean, this is approximately what he said. That person is an independent individual.
Okay, and you learned about that before the call was made public?
That's correct.
Likewise, you were not involved in any discussions surrounding the security sector assistance funds to Ukraine? They were paused for about 55 days from July 18th to September 11th?
No discussions.
In your opening statement on page 9, you stated, although then and now I've always understood that I served at the pleasure of the president, I still find it difficult to comprehend that foreign and private interests were able to undermine U.S. interests in this way. Individuals who apparently felt stymied by our efforts to promote stated U.S. policy against corruption, that is to do the mission, were able to successfully conduct a campaign of disinformation against the sitting ambassador using unofficial back channels. Do you believe that President Trump was aiming to weaponize corruption in Ukraine by removing you?
I don't know that.
Okay. Do you believe your removal was part of some scheme to make it easier for elements of the Ukrainian establishment to do things counter to U.S. interests?
I think that's certainly what the Ukrainian establishment hoped. I think that in addition, there were Americans, these two individuals, who were working with Mayor Giuliani, Mr. Parnas and Mr. Fruman, who have recently been indicted by the Southern District of New York, who indicated that they wanted to change out the ambassador. I think they must have had some reason for that.